Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Two Asian Blokes Podcast, a podcast where we talk about Asian pop culture, films, TV shows, comic books, anime, video games, food, music, whatever we're feeling at the time, really. My name is Dan with H, and with me, as always, is my co-host, Tavi.
Just trying to get these windows up. Like you were saying before, like The Outlaws is a TV series. I don't know what the TV series.
Yeah, get that shit out of here.
Well, what is the TV series? Just out of I'm just gonna have a look it up.
I don't know.
Just
I
out of
saw a thumbnail and I
curiosity.
assumed it was Spanish or something. This is what happens when you have a generic name for your show.
Yeah. Well, it's probably like in Korea. It's probably something different.
Yeah,
But
it's
like, I
called
don't know.
Crime City in Korea, so that's much better.
Crime City.
It's a much better title.
That is a better title, actually. Crime City.
Oh, this
That sounds
series
cool.
has Christopher Walken in it.
Oh, really?
The Outlaws, yeah.
The whatever the American
Yeah.
American one is. But yeah, I guess as you
We're not
guys
talking
can
about
probably
that.
gather,
We're not talking about the American series,
The
The
American
Outlaws.
series.
If you enjoyed
We're
that show, don't fuck off. Don't. This is not the podcast for you.
but yeah, we're covering the Outlaws, which came out in 2017, and its sequel, The Roundup, which came out this year,
So this is a pair of South Korean films.
which is a soon-to-be trilogy. I think they're filming the third one at the moment.
Crime City 3?
I guess so.
Yeah.
But yeah, we wanted to cover these movies because the Roundup is part of the Korean Film Festival that's happening in Australia. So it's starting to it's traveling around like the cities. So Melbourne, Sydney, Canberra. Yeah.
Yeah,
I think it's
just
not like
those three.
this.
Those are the
Just
only three
those three.
cities in Australia. Those are the only three that matter.
Yeah. But yeah, I've been wanting to watch The Outlaws for a little while because I'm a big fan of what's his name?
Ma Dong-seok. You're a big fan of this guy that you
Yeah.
you don't know his name. Yeah.
No, isn't it Benedict Wong?
He does look a little bit like Benedict Wong, you're right.
Yeah, I have a mate. I'm not sure if he's listened to this particular episode, but he always like mixes them up. I think partly to troll me, but also like genuinely gets mixed up.
Yeah, they have similar facial structures. I can see where he's coming from. The jowls.
Yeah.
But the
This is
baby
like,
face look.
It's one of them movies that really like showcases the coolness of Ma Dong-seok, also known as Don Lee in the West.
Yeah.
Because I guess that's a bit easier to say,
Yeah.
I suppose. But whatever you call him, it shows just how much Eternals wasted this actor, the coolness, just so he can die and make Angelina Jolie sad.
Oh yeah, he did die in that. But
Yeah.
he slaps a big monster. So I
Yeah.
mean, they're using some of his talents in that film.
Yeah, but like Hollywood likes to take really talented Korean actors and waste them in bad movie franchises, like Lee Byung-hun.
Oh yeah.
Like he was
was-
he was good in what he does, but that's because he's a good actor.
He was all right in that bad movie,
Which one?
Terminator Genisys. Oh yeah,
Maybe Red. He was in Red.
Red,
too.
yeah, G.I. Joe, But, sometimes it comes down to, like, what scripts you read and agree to signing on, yeah?
Yeah. I mean, you know what my opinion is on Hollywood and casting Asian leads.
I
but
mean,
that's another rant. We're talking about The Outlaws.
yep.
So The Outlaws is based on a series of gang arrests of Chinese Korean gangsters. There was like a big sting, I suppose. And
so it's
I'm
set
not
in,
sure if-
the first one, The Outlaws is set in 2004, is that right? Yeah.
Yeah, 2004. I'm not sure if Ma Suk-do is based on a real person, but I assume that this is a highly fictionalized version of what went on. So I guess it would make sense to talk about The Outlaws first.
So we'll talk about these two films, probably non-spoilers. I don't think there's too much to spoil in these films. They're pretty straightforward films.
Yeah, they're very, very straightforward.
If you want to go into them fresh, I guess go watch them and come back to this. Yeah, but I mean, I don't think us talking about it will take away from your enjoyment of these films. Yeah, they're pretty.
They take me back to an era of like tough guy movies.
Yeah, Lethal Weapon.
Like this.
Think about
Yeah.
think Lethal Weapon but with Korean people.
Yeah, it's like a cops and robbers movie, like Korean gangsters, but like it's a different kind of Korean gangster movie in where it's not like a solemn piece of depression.
It's more cop
or,
focused, I reckon.
Yeah, action packed.
It's more upbeat.
Like, these movies are very easy to watch.
There's no philosophy in these films. It's not a tragic tale of somebody that's grown up on the wrong side of the tracks. It's just like it's just Ma Dong-seok slapping gangsters for
slapping gangsters
an hour and a half.
running down gangsters.
Yeah.
But the interesting thing about Ma Dong-seok's character, which is Ma Sok-do, which is like very similar to his real name.
Yeah.
It's probably like
He just
he's
looks like a
playing
Ma,
himself.
I reckon. Like
Yeah. He's kind of like he's not really a corrupt cop, but he works with the gangsters, so he doesn't really like stop their operations. He kind of is keeping the peace.
Sure.
Because there's a couple of like criminal organizations in this film, but there's basically a Chinese gangster trio who kind of stir the pot and start causing violence within the city, and like taking out the other gangsters, and basically culminates kind of into like a gang war, which adds pressure to like their department.
Yeah, what struck me about this film is like the local gangs, like these Chinese immigrants that have come to Korea and form these gangs. They kind of like form a kind of community with the cops. Like they obviously have their own districts, right, that they manage. And they collect protection money from the various businesses in each district. Like one gang runs the pachinko parlors, one gang runs like the karaoke boxes and whatnot. But like there is kind of a unity in their business operations. Like even Ma Dong-seok's character and his police unit, they kind of like navigate between these different organizations and keep the peace, like you said. But all that peace is kind of disturbed by these three outsiders that come in and start like tearing up the place and disrupting the peace. So I found that pretty interesting. It's like it's almost like how Yakuza operate in Japan, right? It's like they're kind of a part of the legitimate business.
I do tend to enjoy like a good Yakuza movie here and there. They can be a bit like outlandish and exaggerated.
Right, but like the gangsters are not really portrayed as like evil people. They're just kind of like trying to do business in a way that's not morally like good, but they're not like absolutely evil. But that's where these kind of outsiders come in the form of the antagonists of this movie.
Jung Chen,
Jung Chen.
Apparently the guy that plays Jung Chen is from like God.
Okay, yeah. Oh,
so he's pretty popular back in the day.
Yoon
Like one
Ki-sang.
of the he was a great villain in this. Very very menacing. Like the first time you see him, he's got this really long hair and then like ties it up and he like slashes some cunt to death. And then I think I recognize one of the other actors who plays one of his henchmen because he was in that space movie Space Sweepers.
Oh, okay.
So I think he's a pretty prominent actor in Korea. I don't remember the character's name in the movie.
So
I don't remember.
Jin Sun-kyu played Wee Song-rak, which is one of Jang Chen's henchmen.
Yeah, like I'll be honest, I don't remember a lot of the names in this movie.
Korean names, to be honest, are pretty hard to remember in general. So we might refer to these characters as the guy with the ponytail. That's not to besmirch like the actors' abilities and the way they portray these characters, because they did a really good job. It's just that like us, like me and Tavi, as casual,
just lazy.
as filthy casuals when it comes to cinema watching, we're not going to commit to remembering each character's names because it's kind of hard. This plot, it's driven by this antagonist Jang Chen, who comes in and immediately he kills the leader of the Black Dragons gang, whose name is Serpent. Yeah. So he kills that leader and takes over his gang essentially. And then using that as a base, he starts to dismantle all these other rival gangs' operations in the hopes of, I guess, trying to take over this part of Korea. Where is this set? It's set somewhere in Seoul, right?
Garibongdong Gur district.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is somewhere in Seoul. Yeah. Thanks, Wikipedia. But yeah, this movie, man, like I was telling you last night, watching these movies just like makes me feel like a man. Like it makes me want to sit in a desolate alleyway with like 3 other guys and cook ramen on a gas stove and then do like a deal and then just beat up people. Like it just makes me want to crack skulls.
Sure.
Like it's really this is like truly, and like, you know, men and women are invited to the show, but this is like a guy movie. Like this is like a bloke's movie.
That's right. Yeah, my partner watched 10 minutes of this and put it down. Yeah, it's like it's fun, but it's like a pretty blokey kind of fun.
Yeah,
right?
it's extremely blokey, and that's okay. I know Hollywood doesn't really like to make these kind of movies anymore, which is why I said like it kind of takes me back a bit to the tough guy era of like maybe the 90s.
Yeah.
Where it's just like you have a lead who is pretty indestructible, but he still has like, you know, vulnerable moments. Like there are some scenes in this movie where it's not necessarily him that is getting injured, but it's like the people around him. Like one of the young guys, he gets like pretty hurt.
He gets oil chucked on him.
Yeah, he gets oil chucked on his
chucked in
face.
his face.
Yeah.
And he's the pretty one as well, so that hurts even more.
So, and I kind of like that moments because, like, for most of the movie, him and his cop like crew kind of just do whatever they want.
Sure.
Like with the gangsters, they have like a really big authority, but then it's just like, you know, you realize that this is it's a dangerous business. You know, like being a cop, you can get hurt.
Yeah.
Not everyone's going to just be like Ma Dong-seok and just like bear palm someone and knock them out instantly.
Yeah.
And like being a guy of his stature, just managing to keep up with like skinny people in a chase, but like, you know, he's just cool. So you kind of just like forgive it.
Yeah, there was a part where I really had to suspend my disbelief because he like runs down a perp, but he's like dressed in a suit and dress shoes, and he's like he's a big guy as well. And
yeah.
And he just runs him down. I'm like, no, I don't think that would happen.
A lot of the stuff that would happen in this movie, but it's just like
I think it's just like you said, the machismo in it. It's like a lot of it is conveyed through Ma Dong-seok's character because he is like an alpha male. Like his character intro is basically like these guys are having like a knife fight, I guess, in the street, and he just rocks up and he's on his phone, he's talking on his phone, like not even paying attention, and he just like he disarms one of the guys like by breaking his fingers or something, and then he's just like to the other guy, just come here. Come, like, put the knife down, come here. And he just punishes them. Like a lot of it's a lot of that. Just him like commanding people. So, I totally would see where you're coming from in that. Like, just his character is the embodiment of just a man's man.
Yeah, man. Like I wish I could like be half the man or a quarter of the man that this guy is, man. Like, I'm just like, if Ma Dong-seok came to my house and started ordering me around, I would just do it.
Sure.
Like he'd kick my door down and he'd just be like, cook me ramen. Okay. Like, I wouldn't even like react. Like, you know, I'd just be like scared and in awe as well at the same time.
Right.
I think I've seen Ma Dong-seok like in some interviews, but I don't really know what he's like outside of his roles, because all I can see him is like the cool guy in Train to Busan and this guy now.
But not like he's an odd one because he does have like that manly side of him, but there's also like a really cute side of him.
Yeah, I think so.
And I think that's conveyed in like his interactions with his police squad, because like he's not he's not the top tier in his department. Like he's got a captain above him, right?
Yeah.
And his relationship with his captain is quite funny because like it's almost it is like one of those stereotypical like. Even in like old American films, you've got the captain.
Like the Lethal Weapon, like the captain is like, Riggs.
The captain is up your ass kind of thing. But like also you kind of get along with him because like, it's a love-hate relationship. Like there's a lot of that kind of banter in it. And the camaraderie that he has between him and the rest of his squad as well. Like, there are just these little interactions where he is allowed to display like that cute side of him as well. So I think that kind of duality in his characters where he's like fucking bear palming like gangsters during the day, but like dodging a bill at night with his cop buddies, you know,
and trying to like taking his captain's money because I mean he's like asking, and the captain's just kind of oh shit, I left my wallet in the car. And it's like what? I've got your wallet right here. And it's like and it's just gives his money to his squad. And I really like the chemistry between all the actors in this movie. The chemistry between Ma Dong-seok and the other outlaws in this film, especially Jang Isu. Like that guy's really funny.
He's the only gangster to return for the sequel. It's good because bizarre. Like he's like
he has like a perm as well.
He's a standout. I think like just his mannerisms are really funny. He's like but he's kind of plays a different role in the second movie, which we'll get to. But in this movie, he is like the leader of one of the gangs in this neighborhood. And he's kind of menacing at times, but also he's kind of a clown at times. Like he is Ma Dong-seok's bitch in this movie. The part where
he's Ma Dong-seok's bitch in like both movies. He plays a different role, but he's basically a bitch, which is why he's really funny.
But he's only a bitch to Ma Dong-seok's character, right? Like he's pretty menacing, like to the other gangsters, I guess. Like he does have a bit of a rivalry with Jang Chen and like Jang Chen's lackeys. There's a point where Jang Chen's two henchmen kind of get cornered by Jang Isu and his gang, and they're like, oh yeah, they're gonna fuck these people up now. Like it's not like a case of these guys don't stand a chance. Like Jang Isu does have some sway in this movie. Not so much in the next movie, but his character was really fun. I found like just a gangster, but also pretty comedic in his role.
I really like the action sequences in this movie. These movies are probably something that I would have watched with my dad maybe if I was like 9 or 10 and kind of getting into more let's say violent cinema, because this movie has its brutality. There's a lot of like Korean knife stabbing and whatnot, but it's not like The Night Comes For Us. It's not overly violent, and I think this movie is actually pretty accessible, and I think this is like the right level of violence where you can kind of just sit back and relax, but like not be too disturbed by what you're watching.
There's a somewhat comedic element. No, not comedic, like comic element to the violence. It's like a kind of like a Crow Zero-esque vibe. Like there's a lot of like rolling up on people going, like there's a lot of bravado at first, just kind of like jutting jaws and whatnot and rolling R's, you know, before it throws down. And the violence when it happens, it is violent, but like it doesn't feel real, I guess. Like it doesn't feel too real. Like when the night comes for us, like when people are getting stabbed and like slashed, it feels like very guttural, I guess. And like the blood effects kind of convey that. But in this movie, it's like, they're getting stabbed and they're getting slashed, but it doesn't feel overly real. It feels like people getting slashed in a comic book, I guess.
I guess this is like what I want to see more regularly when I watch like a Marvel film. But obviously, you know, that's probably a bit too violent. But I kind of miss these like this level of violence.
Yeah, I think they could get away with this as like a PG film because like there's blood, but it's kind of like but it's kind of like a afterthought blood effect. Like it's like you see the blood after the fight is over, but while the fight is occurring, there's not that much blood spray. It's just like the sound effects like of people getting stabbed and slashed, but it's not overly gory during the fight.
I think this movie probably just tiptoes over that line a bit too much, but I like the style. Like you know, like I usually don't have a middle ground when it comes to violence in films. It's either it's violent or it's not.
I think this is the middle ground, though. I feel like this is like
this is a little bit over the middle ground.
You think so?
I think.
Yeah. Okay.
I think middle ground is like Expendables 3, which is where it just hides it. In this one, because you see people getting stabbed and you see like the knife wounds, like you see people getting implied to be getting dismembered. You see the hammer hit the dude's finger when he's like Jung Chen is asking money to be paid up, and there's like harm to old guys and kids in this movie as well.
True.
Where you don't see it, but it's a pretty threatening world, which I think the dude that plays Jung Chen, the God guy, which I'm just going to call him, he does a really great job in like being a badass villain as well, but like not being a cheesy whiny bitch. Like he's a very like menacing dude. Like every time you see him on screen, he is like calm but also like a loose cannon.
He's
like
in control.
You say one thing, he's in control to a point, but like as soon as you kind of like insult him, he'll like fuck you up.
He's in control but still unpredictable enough for the audience to still be. There's a certain level of tension in every interaction that he has with any character, because like you don't know what he's gonna do. Like even though this isn't his turf, but like based on like the first thing he does in this movie is break a guy's fingers with a sledgehammer and then like knife one of the biggest bosses in the town. So he doesn't give a fuck really, like his character. And you feel that in the rest of the movie as well. Like even with his interactions with the cops, like he knows that the cops are a bigger threat to him than anyone in this town, but like he's still able to play it cool when faced with their presence. And because of that, he's pretty slippery as well. So he gets away a lot. He manages to outrun Madok Suk, which to me seems like it would be pretty easy to do.
This is the kind of movie that scratched that itch that I wanted the Grey Man to scratch. When we're talking about the violence and the action, I wanted to see this level in the Grey Man, because I think this level would have suited that movie. But like, just watching this movie, like I just had a lot of fun with it. Like, I watched this movie when I was pretty hungover.
I think, I know what you mean. Like especially when it comes to the final showdown, right? Like we were talking about the Grey Man before, the final showdown, like spoilers for the Grey Man, by the way. There is something that happens in the final showdown of that movie that robs the main character's like victory. But in this movie, that doesn't happen. This
was a great showdown. Also, the difference as well is the amount of destruction to the scenery that happens in a showdown. It makes it like feel real, The showdown takes place in the airport bathroom, and like they're getting smashed through the doors. I'm
going to tell you right now, you can't go wrong with a fight scene in a bathroom, in a public bathroom.
Like a white industrial area, like the Raid 2 is in the kitchen, the bathroom. There's so much stuff.
Mission Impossible, that Mission Impossible Rogue Nation, I want to say, the one with Henry Cavill. That bathroom fight scene's amazing. There's a lot of good bathroom fight scenes. You can add so many
like textual elements to the scene. Like you break a pipe, you have this water element come in. You're smashing people.
Just smashing tiles, man. Smashing tiles is great.
There was a really like I really love the commitment to action scenes in Korean films because they probably don't have as strict rules as they do in the West. So, like, people are actually getting hurt during these scenes.
Well, I mean, yeah, there is that. Like that does definitely sells it. But like just the setting alone, like the Grey Man's final fight scene was like in some kind
Just
of
in a
hedge
pond.
maze like
Yeah,
there's
the
a
hedge
fountain.
maze and a fountain, that's it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and like it's not very interesting, is it? Like you
Yeah.
can't throw anyone into anything in that setting, right?
I think there's just like a lack of movement with
Yeah.
camera and stuff as well. Yeah.
And like that's a pretty easy decision to not make, right? Yeah. Like just set it in a more closed off environment and it's immediately a better fight scene.
No, I was just gonna say, like, I feel really refreshed to watch a film that doesn't rely so much on CG, like to shoot its scenes. You know, like it's really easy to just shoot, like not even just action sequences, just like talking head sequences, and that's my big gripe with a lot of the big action movies these days. Whereas, like a film like The Outlaws, even though it would have a significantly smaller budget, it's using its scenery quite well, you know? It's a balance of framing and just movement of where actors are, rather than just shoving their face into my face on a big screen and then just like CGing in the background, you know? So it's just really refreshing to see that. And there's probably some, I reckon there's probably some CG in this movie, but I didn't notice it. And there obviously would have been body doubles, but I think it's just shot pretty well. I think that's like a positive thing for this movie.
I think
Yeah.
it's pretty minimal. Like I feel like it does harken back to the days of like your Lethal Weapons and whatnot, where like you didn't really need CG because like the strength of your movie was in character interactions and like the action that you did have was fairly minimal, like in the scale of like modern action films. Like you do have your fight scenes, but they're in these kind of organic environments rather than like really large scale stuff. Like I guess it's fairly similar to like the kind of Netflix action films that get put out. Like Netflix action films, like in general, kind of do use pretty small scale locations. Like if you think of movies like Extraction or The Old Guard, like a lot of the fight scenes are just like a warehouse or an alley. Like Kate, a lot of it was like alleyways and stuff. Yeah, you don't need these big scale action pieces in this kind of movie. Like the plot is fairly solid as well. I think just it felt like a kind of Untouchables situation. Like if you've ever watched that movie, it's like just cops trying to clean up the neighborhood, and like whether they succeed or not is the audience's stake in this film. And yeah, but the way the characters are built, you really want the cops to succeed. Yeah, like Jang Chen is the kind of character that audiences love to hate, and you really want to see him get his comeuppance. Yeah, and then when he eventually does get beaten the shit out of by Ma Dong-seok, it's so satisfying to watch.
Yeah, it's very cathartic.
Yeah, and the whole time I was like, I mean, this is police brutality, but
that's right. There's a lot of like scenes where they're at the cop station and they just like slide like something in front of the cameras and start beating up there.
Which I don't condone, by the way. I don't condone police brutality, but this is a movie, and you want to see the villains get their comeuppance. And like, I'm just really glad that Bugs didn't come and shoot the villain.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. No, there was like a little funny scene where the airport like crew like go up to Ma Dong-seok and it's like, oh nah, just talk to that guy over there, which is captain, and they're just like, yeah, you gotta pay for all the damages. It's like, is that like really important now? It's like, yeah, well, you know, and it's that very like fake service smile. Well. Yeah. It was just a nice touch.
It is a nice touch.
Pretty light movie.
Because you don't really think about like the collateral damage, I guess, in that kind of scene. But yeah, somebody has to pay for that. Shall we talk about?
The roundup.
The roundup.
So, spoiler spoiler alert, Ma Dong-seok doesn't die. Not like in the Eternals where he's wasted, as I
In
said.
fact, nobody dies. None of the cops die in the Outlaws.
Yeah, no, none of the cops die. This movie doesn't really have a high body count, even though I assume some people are killed during the big gang fights.
Well,
But,
I mean, the serpent, the leader
the
of the
serpent
Black
dude,
Dragons
those
dies,
two guys
definitely. All the people that get chopped up into little pieces, they die.
Yeah, yeah. So this movie is not violent, the roundup sees basically Ma Dong-seok go to Vietnam, go to a suspect who's trying to give himself up, and it's based on, I think there was a series of kidnappings of Korean tourists in Vietnam and I think in the Philippines.
Oh yeah, these movies are loosely based on real world events, right?
Yeah, it's definitely fictionalized for sure. But yeah, we we see like this dude, this like tycoon guy, just like step into a van, and I just laughed because I knew he's gonna get the shit kicked out of him. It was just really funny.
Yeah.
Like as soon as he's like, just get in. I just lolled, and then he obviously gets the shit. He gets kidnapped and the shit beaten out of him.
And killed.
But yes.
Yes.
But the plot for the roundup is very similar to the first one, to the Outlaws. It's like basically the same beats. You know, you're seeing Ma Dong-seok, you know, just bear palming people. At the start, he's like disarms like this dude at a grocery store and just flips him over, and the guy like bites him. It's like, what are you, a zombie? And it's like, this movie's not too much different from the Outlaws.
There is a slightly different setting in the parts where they're in Vietnam.
Yeah.
And you do feel that, I think. Like, it does feel like you're in a different place. And like Ma Dong-seok and his captain go to Vietnam to bring back this suspect that has turned himself in. They're definitely out of their element because neither of them can speak English.
This movie feels like I'm watching like a Beverly Hills Cop sequel, you know? What if Ma Dong-seok is in another country out of his league or something?
It's like a Rush Hour kind of vibe, like where they're like just an excuse to kind of change location. I'm guessing it was filmed in Vietnam because
maybe.
I don't understand why they would set it in Vietnam. I mean, I guess it is set like based on real world events. So, but yeah, like, you know, the Vietnam setting doesn't really add that much to the movie.
No, not really. Like, he still just does whatever he wants, except like he's with his captains. Like, you can't just go around like kicking doors down, and he just kicks a door down.
And they end up in Korea again anyway.
Because it's kind of true. You can't just get away doing whatever you want without like pissing off like the locals. Because like there's like this cop who's basically on their ass like the whole time while they're in Vietnam. It's like, what the fuck are you doing? You're just like beating up all these people. The villain in this movie, he's pretty menacing as well, like Jung Chen, but probably not as fleshed out. He's a bit more vulnerable, I think, compared to Jung Chen. You don't see him taking over as many gangsters. I feel like this movie it's basically the Outlaws, but even more straightforward. There's not as much of like a world, and I don't think you really see Ma Dong-seok really get into like the stakes aren't as high for him, and it's not as personal because you know in the first one when like the cop gets the oil shoved on his face, and you know he's got to like think about, oh shit, you know, I can't just like, you know, run my men through this, like it's a dangerous business. And like when the kid gets like wrecked the shit out of by Jung Chen, and you see him pushed into an ambulance, but then you don't see the old guy pushed into an ambulance.
No one gives a shit about the old guy.
He's just dead. But like it becomes personal for him.
And even like it seems like he had a connection to one of the gang leaders as well. That one that he gave the knife-proof vest to. And like I don't know what their connection was. I thought maybe they were like brothers or something, but I don't know. He seemed close to them. Like there definitely seemed like more personal connections in the Outlaws, whereas the Roundup.
Yeah.
The rundown.
But don't get us
the
wrong.
rundown. Yeah.
This movie is sick. Like what I noticed immediately was different was like Ma Dong-seok's soundtrack intro. It's like that really like dirty rock bass song, and it just like just made me want to go out into the city and like beat someone up. Like it's just like like it's I think if the second episode is out by now, I mentioned like Royal Blood. Like it's got that really like dirty bass sound, and it's just like just like bar fight music, and it's just like this music was just like like this one I just like
they really lean into it, I think. In the
it's just
second
like it just
movie.
adds the tough guy mentality like all the way, like oh man, like this is just like it makes me
But the
eat
stuff
ramen, drink beers, beat people up.
the stuff that Ma Dong-seok does in the second movie is not like overly dissimilar to the first movie. Like it doesn't go over the top, I guess, in terms of how like superhuman they make him out to be. Because he's still doing like his typical stuff. He still gets hurt when he's fighting people. He's not totally indestructible. He's still got his crew of men that work under him. They don't have as much of a personality, I think.
In this one, because they're left behind in Vietnam. I think for half of the movie is like in Vietnam, and then they're back in Korea.
You get to see the rookie's progression in the unit. So the rookie, he's now like a senpai, I guess, in the unit. So he's like the one that's kind of swearing and so he's gotten rough around the edges. But for the most part, like they are left out of it for a lot of it. You also don't get to see as much of the gang dynamics like from the first movie, because there's not as many different gangs. You get to see Jung Isu again.
I'm gonna say like he's it's funny because you think he dies in the first one, but he's just back with the perm and basically even more of a bitch because he's gone straight and narrow. And I think there's like this running joke from the first and second one where like Ma Dong-seok just says, come here, like just put it here, and like reaches his hands out, and then like he basically puts his balls in his hand, obviously with silver, and like Ma Dong-seok would just crush it, and he's like and then it's just like why didn't you tell me this and that. So I really like Jung Gi-soo in this role.
He turns into a more comedic character in this movie.
I feel like the Roundup is a little bit more Hollywood than the Outlaws, I guess. It's like it's got the more like these caricatures.
It's definitely more Lethal Weapon 4 than Lethal Weapon 1.
Yeah, because you see him like interact with like his captain, and like they have funny banter here and there. The thing is, like, I would say I like the Outlaws probably more. It's not to take away like my I enjoyed both these movies the same, like thoroughly.
Yeah, definitely. I would definitely watch Crime City 3 or whatever it's called. The Roundup 2. Like I could watch this kind of movie. I could watch this kind of movie like any day of the week, I reckon. Like it's just so
I watched
easy
the Outlaws
to digest.
Again recently. It's just like you can watch this with your friends. And as you said, there's not really a whole lot of philosophy in this movie. It's just like really good old fashioned, just like beating people up, and there's all the classic Korean gangster action tropes, like people getting stabbed a lot, which is I thoroughly enjoy. A lot of knife fights.
It's a lot of Korean swearing. If you
a lot
enjoy
of Korean
that.
swearing. Yeah, we've definitely had our fair share of Korean swearing in our movie watching experiences.
Not a lot of female characters. So if you're looking for that,
there's even less in the Roundup. I don't think there is like.
I think there's as many. There's one female character I feel like in the Outlaws, and one female character in the Roundup.
No, I don't even think there is a female character. There's females as like they're just there.
Like the mob boss's wife is she plays a pretty big role.
No, you're right. Yeah, during the sting. Yeah, that was pretty exciting. Yeah, that's why it was like when Jung Gi-soo like basically tells Jung Gi-soo to come and help.
Yeah.
And then like he tries to run off with the money. It's pretty funny. Yeah, but like those scenes are really tense. You had like because the who was the main villain? What's his name? in this
Kang
movie
Hae
again?
Sung.
I don't think I've seen this actor in anything that I recognize.
Soku Song. Yeah, and I don't think anything that we would have watched. Looks
Yeah,
like a
no,
lot
no,
of
no.
dramas.
But he does a pretty good job in being like menacing. But I don't think he had as much like sway. Like he's not in it as much as Jung Chen is in The Outlaws. But I did like really enjoy that like third act sequence when he's trying to get money from the guy's wife because he like kidnaps like a mogul or something, and then it was like a pretty tense scene, and like when like, they run through the shopping center and stuff like it's cool, very fun, and
And it also has a climax fight scene at the end in a bus.
In a
which
bus.
is also a brilliant location for a fight scene. I've seen many, public transport in general, but yeah, like just the placement of these final fights is just spot on. Good
a lot of
action cinema,
potential.
It's like very minimalistic, but like highly destructible environments that are just a lot of fun to film a fight scene in. If you had to choose one to rewatch, the Outlaws fight scene or the Roundup fight scene?
I think I like the Outlaws fight scene a bit more. I think it was a bit more visceral. I think there was a bit more trading of blows.
Okay.
I think Ma Dong-seok was a bit too invincible in the Roundup. He doesn't really get hurt very much. Like, he schools the guy like really easily, I think.
Okay,
Yeah. But no, what would you pick?
Oh, they're very similar,
Yeah.
Like it's both. Yeah, both cases is like the guy has thought that he's gotten away, and then Ma Dong-seok rocks up.
Rocks up, yeah.
And it's
These
like-
plots are basically the same.
Yeah,
They're exactly the same, really.
And is like, yeah, the only way they can get out is kind of fighting this bear of a man, which doesn't go well for them. I think, probably the Outlaws, because you see more of an unraveling in Jang Chen's character. Like, I think like even the subtle things, like Jang Chen has kind of his hair tied up.
Yeah.
Like, he's got this long hair that's tied up, but obviously as the fight progresses, like his hair
gets
unravels,
messier, yeah.
and like that kind of signifies him unraveling as a villain, right? Whereas the Roundup doesn't really have that. It's like pretty straightforward. Like this guy just gets beaten up.
Yeah.
Ma Dong-seok takes it a little bit too far, I think. He like throws him out of the bus window
Well, I think
and then like
the guy
smashes
says,
him
like-
into a car. It's like, come on, guys.
he says like he's gonna like kill him and his family.
Nah,
That's pretty
man.
like
If anybody was
outrageous.
filming that on their phone, that's like police brutality. It's like a case for police brutality. I feel like probably that guy got away because like they showed that video clip to a jury, and the jury was like, "Oh, actually, feel bad for
But
this
I don't think that guy has a very good like. That guy's got a pretty big criminal record. I don't think the jury would be on his side.
I don't know.
He's not like a TikToker or anything like that. Just trying to do that. That would be really funny. Just like watching like someone make a TikTok like on the streets that is like inconveniencing everyone, and then Ma Dong-seok just like picking them up and just like smashing him into a car.
Yeah.
I think people would accept that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Ma Dong-seok's pretty likable. I don't know. Like,
Yeah,
I'm just trying to think, like, if I saw that, like, a video of that, and I had no context, like, whose side would I be on? Would I be on the side of, like, the huge man that's beating up on this guy, or would I be on the other guy's side, like the smaller guy who's getting wailed on?
Well, that's where you gotta start digging in the facts. You're like, what's the story? What's happening?
No, but
here?
people aren't digging into facts. People are making base assumptions on what they see. Yeah, so I don't know.
Yeah, but this was 2008, so you didn't have to worry about that
Yeah,
shit.
it's fine. Everyone's using flip phones in Korea at that
Yeah,
time,
that's
I
right.
assume.
It's good. Can watch a movie that doesn't have to talk about Twitter and Instagram for a change. It's
But
just
yeah.
like, just old fashioned fun. Just Ma Dong-seok just beating up a bunch of criminals and telling them to come here and ripping their balls off and not really
slapping
off,
them until
slapping
they're
people around.
unconscious.
Like, yeah, bear palming, instant KO shit. Like, yeah, it's good, man. I would say in the roundup, I like the soundtrack a lot more. Like, the ending of The Outlaws is just some generic Korean hip-hop song. It's not bad, but it doesn't really, like, suit it. But when the roundup finishes and it plays like that, like, you know, that dirty, hard rock Ma Dong-seok theme, it's like, yeah, that was sick.
Yeah.
I
think I
Gonna
enjoyed
go
the character of the captain a bit more in the roundup as well.
He gets a bit more fleshed out compared. Yeah,
Gets a bit more play, and he is kind of a
cops
highlight.
cops a machete in the shoulder.
Yeah.
It's like, I was like, oh damn, man, it's it's interesting because you quite like these characters. So when something bad happens to them like that, you're like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
even
was
the captain,
worried.
who's like a bit of he's a bit of a like a whiner, you know. He's like, what the fuck, this and that. But when he gets hurt, it's like, oh man, like, not the captain.
Yeah.
you know?
Usually they wait until the fourth movie to kill the captain off, so he's got maybe another movie in him.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I mean,
That's if
like
they make another one. Yeah,
with I was always kind of like a bit tense as to whether or not they were going to actually kill off any of these characters, which I quite like. Like even I think in the Outlaws, no, was it the Outlaws or the Roundup? I forget. They kind of bleed into each other, but like
yeah, they're very similar movies.
one of the main detectives gets like stabbed a lot. I think it is
it's
the
the roundup.
Yeah,
because he corners Kang Hisol,
yeah.
and then like he gets
He gets he gets
He's like, I found it. He's like, "Ah." I was like, yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Yeah, I was like,
and I was like,
I
are they
don't
going to
want
kill
this
this
guy
guy
to die.
off? Yeah, I don't want him to die.
I like this guy.
I have
even though
no idea what his
remember
name is, but
Yeah,
I don't want him to
like
die.
This guy. Yeah, I think the portrayal of the cops, like even though there's a lot of police brutality, as you say, they're just a very likable group of people, and they're pretty real. You know, they've got like real struggles. Like, you know, they've been like fucking doing this shit for days.
Yeah,
Just
and they're
like-
not earning much money either. So they
Yeah, just like me.
if in the eventual American remake of this film, who would you pick to play Ma Dong-seok's character?
It could only really be The Rock, right?
Yeah, The Rock could do it. I think there's a difference between Ma Dong-seok and The Rock, though. Like,
Yeah,
They're
but
both-
they're both like likable, big, tough guys.
they are. But I think The Rock is still clinging on to like his cool guy image.
Oh no, The Rock is not like you know, he's done his fair share of like kids movies. I feel like he could do it. I mean, he was the Tooth Fairy, right?
It's true. Yeah, I think he could definitely do this role.
To be honest, like if they did remake this movie, I don't think I would be too annoyed about it because I feel like this is. You can definitely do an American version of this movie with more American themes.
Yeah,
in
I
fact,
feel
I want Americans to make more movies like
I
this.
feel like
really,
this movie is inspired by a lot of American work
Yeah, I
from
think
like the
so. Like-
90s and 2000s, you know?
yeah, this would be like the rare occasion where I probably wouldn't mind too much because it's a Korean film, but I think this story is very accessible, and I don't think too much would change with the sentiments. I mean, like you're talking to the guy who like hated the switch and bullet train, but like I feel like this movie, if this movie was set in Korea, but then it had all white leads, then I would probably be a bit annoyed. But like I feel like you can set this movie in any kind of area where there's a lot of crime, like, you know, and
Could
just,
be a Guy Ritchie film.
yeah. Well, he's got another movie coming out, doesn't he? With Jason Statham being a badass.
Okay.
And I forgot the title. I just saw it on
I feel
YouTube.
like Jason Statham would play Ma Dong-seok's character. And
Yeah,
it wouldn't be
he
as
would,
good
yeah.
because like he's not as big. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
Jason Statham does play a lot of characters that just school people, like without even trying. But I don't know. There's just something fun about Ma Dong-seok just bear slapping people.
Yeah.
That it's not the same as
'cause he's
Jason
like-
Statham. Like,
Because he's like a big guy. And you
Yeah.
don't really see like people of, I guess, Marong Sok's like physical features to be like a main action star.
yeah.
He's kind of like an anomaly, really. Like he's just very entertaining to watch.
Yeah.
Like he's
Like,
got
it's-
such a
It's
presence.
hard to find an American equivalent to him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Something
no,
with like
I
Jason
wonder,
Statham's
yeah.
personality, but The Rock's physicality. I feel like.
Yeah. That's a good question. Who do you think would play Zhang Chen? Chris Evans.
I don't know. Like, yeah, like a high name, someone with a big name that you don't really see like play that kind of character often. Yeah, maybe Chris Evans could do it.
Ryan Gosling.
I can't see Ryan Gosling being overly menacing. Yeah.
Well, he can be, you know, like in Blade Runner, where he's like, "Cat, cat, damn it, cat, cat."
Who else is in Guy Ritchie movies? Who plays the villain in a Guy Ritchie movie? Usually,
Vinny Jones, but he's pretty old now.
yeah.
Dolph Lundgren.
Nah, Vinny Jones could do it. I reckon.
You reckon? How old is
Yeah.
Vinny Jones now?
I haven't seen him in a movie in a while, but
I think he's pretty old, dude. He's
Hmm.
like he'd be well into his 60s by
who
now.
was the villain in The Gentleman? Henry
Oh
Golding.
no, Vinny Jones is only 57. Oh, he's a lot younger than I thought. The villain in The Gentleman. Was it Henry Golding?
Henry
Golding would be able to do it. he's all right in The Gentleman,
Yeah.
but
Was there a villain in
yeah.
The Gentleman?
wasn't it Henry Golding? Kind of.
Yeah, kind of, but he's like a bit of a bitch as well, right?
Yeah, I don't remember actually. I saw that movie a while.
Hugh Grant. I don't know.
Oh, he was kind of a villain. Yeah.
But not really, though. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think there was a
You-
villain in The Gentleman. What was that movie even about? I don't know. I
true,
remember
yeah.
enjoying it fairly well, but like, yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I think you're right. I think this is a movie that could be adapted fairly easily.
Yeah, I think so.
And could draw like a decent market in the US.
Yeah. People are screaming out for this kind of movie or this kind of show.
You think so? You
Yeah,
think this movie
what
hasn't
was
passed
that-
its expiration date?
Nah, there's this Amazon Prime series that all the critics hate, but audiences really love.
Jack Reacher.
The Jack Reacher and The Terminal List. And those are kind of like tough guy movies.
Yeah.
And Top Gun Maverick as well. You know, they're pretty like old. I think people want to see these kind of like movies
Throwbacks.
again. Yeah, because like I guess they're kind of sick of you know superhero movies, and they want to see like
They want to see a real man
they want to see a real man.
that is a superhero as well.
Yeah, I mean like you can be like you know whoever you want to be. Like you know if you enjoy the Marvel masculinity, I guess that's all well and good. But like I think there's not much of a mix of that in Hollywood. It's like it's basically all that. Whereas like yeah, I think people just want to see basically what I'm trying to say is people just want to watch like some good old fashioned, well shot films that aren't like riddled with like CGI fests and
I mean,
don't
that-
have world ending stakes.
I think that
just like
that's what we want to see. I don't know if that's what everybody wants to see. That's I mean,
no, I mean like according to these shows that are doing pretty well, like yeah, I'm sure, you know. I mean, yeah, it is what we want to see, but I think, I mean, man, I like all I do is just bash Marvel, but I don't give a fuck. That's just my character on the show now. But you know, people are getting tired of like Phase 4. Like, it's almost cool to bash.
it's true. I
Phase
think
4 now.
yeah, we need to mix it up a bit. And if mixing
Yeah.
it up means bringing back the 90s. Yeah, so be it. I love the 90s. I love
Well, I feel like they're gonna do that now with Top Gun Maverick being so popular.
You think so?
Yeah, I think they want
I
to
don't
bring.
know.
This movie is about to make as much money as No Way Home did, apparently.
Okay,
So,
yeah, that's
Yeah,
interesting.
I am really surprised by the success of that movie.
It's a
And
really
on
good
it, yeah.
movie, though.
It's a really good movie, and it's not even my favorite movie of the year,
Hmm.
and it's probably not even in my top 10, but it's still like a a really great movie. And just have fun with it, man. Just like some good old fashioned like action cinema, you know.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what the reception of the Roundup is going to be like, because
In Korea, it's it's the highest grossing movie of this year in Korea.
okay,
So Koreans love this movie.
yeah, it's super easy to digest, so I'm not surprised by that. Like,
I'm honestly surprised by the somewhat low IMDb scores of these movies. Again, like I'm kind of confused. Like, actually, Outlaws is 7.2, which is it's not too bad. But like you got like some pretty shit movies that came out this year that have.
yeah.
Let's not get into that again.
At time of recording, the Roundup has 100% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes. So
really?
That's pretty good.
Yeah, 7.1 on IMDb. It's like, yeah,
It's
yeah.
a bit of fun. I don't like, yeah. You can't really hate on this movie because
The only people that probably can, if you don't like action cinema and probably a girl.
yeah, sure. Like,
you probably-
there's not much
you're
female
probably not gonna like
representation in this film. To be fair,
It's
But
just, it's not
that kind of film. It's not what this film is for, right?
Yeah, there's a clear target demographic. But I mean, like, I'm sure they're like, if this is the highest grossing movie in Korea, does that mean just like all these Korean men just want to go watch this movie?
No, I'm
You
like female audiences would like it if they like this kind of film. You know, like it.
Yeah, I think females. There's definitely a female audience that do like these kind of movies. I said, like, anyone can go watch this.
Yeah, it's
It's
whether
like,
or not you like this kind of film or not is the question. You know, it's like there's not much like female representation, but you know, it's not really a part of this film. Yeah,
I don't think the filmmakers give a fuck about
Sure.
that shit that everyone in the West is worried about now. They're just like, man, just want to make a movie with some cops and robbers. Yeah, it's making bank, so good on them.
good on him. Yeah, I hope this movie does well. I hope it does get a terrible American remake.
Yep, and we will review it. I feel like if there was going to be a successful American remake, it could actually be this movie, because there's not much you need to carry over in translation that would like really piss off anyone. You could easily do it, because there's definitely American films like this.
It would
And
be.
it's just
It
like,
would
yeah.
come down to the casting of the two leads, the antagonist and the protagonist. That would build the success of that remake.
But all in all, it's probably going to be shit. As you
So
said.
The Rock versus Chris Evans. Chris Evans is what I'm saying.
Oh, they should get The Rock versus like a nut like Triple H or something, man.
No,
That would be sick. Yeah, man. Just like old school, like
Because he's got to be
between-
smaller. He's got to be smaller. The villain has to be smaller than Ma Dong-seok, but wilier.
maybe
The Rock versus Kevin Hart.
yeah. Kevin Hart? Is
Kevin
it Chris
Hart.
Oh, is
No.
it Kevin Hart?
No, the
Kevin
guy.
Hart's a comedian.
Yes, that guy. That's who I mean.
No,
Get Kevin
it'd
Hart.
be like get wrestler versus wrestler, like The Rock versus Steve Austin. That'd be sick.
Yeah, bring back that rivalry. Yeah,
That would be cool.
That'd be pretty good.
I'd watch that.
But
I'd
Steve
pay
Austin
money.
can't act. He's a terrible actor.
Yeah, that's probably true. But you probably like just put him in a role where you don't really need to make him act.
But no,
There was a-
the
there was a
antagonist
Steve
is
Austin,
like
yeah.
very important in this kind
Yeah,
of
you're
film.
probably right. Yeah.
You need someone with charisma. Like he doesn't even need to be able to fight. He just needs a bit of charisma.
Rock versus The Undertaker.
The Rock versus Vin Diesel.
That. Yeah, I would pay to see that. That would be. If, like, you're talking about the contracts that involve that
Yeah, no.
Dungeons and Dragons.
The
Like, if
problem
you
with
threw
that
that out
is-
the window.
No.
you
The
just
problem
throw
with that
out
is
the
they
window,
can't throw it
yeah.
out the window. They neither of those men are allowed to lose a fight, and that's the problem.
If they were paid enough money.
I mean, I would actually consider Statham for the villain, but again, I don't think either of those men are allowed to lose fights.
If you remade this movie and it's The Rock versus Vin Diesel, there'll be a lot of people who'd pay to see that.
Yeah.
Initially, there would probably not be a sequel, but
The trick is how are you going to convince Vin Diesel that he can lose a fight to The Rock, no less.
Yeah.
Like losing a fight to someone else, yeah, maybe, but to The Rock, I don't
The
think
Rock.
so.
But if that, combination did come to fruition, that would be a lot of people. It's like printing
that's
money.
money in
man.
the bank.
People want to, it's money in the bank. But yeah, that's not going to happen. And they'll be like probably too old to do anything substantial, like in terms of the fight scenes
True.
in these movies.
Nah, Ma Dong-seok's what? He's at
think
least
he's-
50, right?
Yeah, he's 50. Yeah. He's the same age as The Rock, I guess.
Yeah, I reckon they can do it. Get them both
Yeah.
on board, mend those bridges, and then make this movie that will destroy those bridges again. But
Yep.
it doesn't matter because we'll have that movie.
Yeah, that'd be cool, and make it violent as well. Don't pussy out. Don't make a movie that you're trying to market for everyone. Make it a guy's movie, man. Make it brutal. Like
If you were to westernize this, first of all, like what city would you set it in?
like Boston or something. It's got that kind of
Gritty,
gritty look.
Vibe.
Yeah,
yeah.
that'd be cool. And like the kind of Irish gangster influence. I'm just thinking of like The Town and The Departed. I've enjoyed those movies back in those times, so
Because
that'd be cool.
I'm thinking of like the gang stuff, like especially in the Outlaws, kind of like how the gangs interact with each other. It's a bit more like a UK setting, but then you can't really put The Rock in it, can you? Because he's just
Yeah.
a big unit in the middle of the UK for some reason.
A big American guy.
So probably Boston. The Rock would be out of place in Boston as well, though.
Yeah, you're probably right. I don't know. I mean, you can make it work. With enough money, you can make it work out.
Yeah,
Hollywood's got the money, man.
it's true.
Yeah.
Get Scorsese on it.
Yeah.
All right, well, do you have any more to say about these two films, The Outlaws and The Roundup?
Nah, I don't think we have. But like, yeah, there's not much philosophical analyzing we can do with this movie.
Yeah, no,
It's
these
just like,
movies are just a bit of fun.
Yeah,
And we had a lot of fun watching them, and we'll definitely watch more of these if they make them.
yeah. Well, we'll definitely be in line to watch the third one whenever that comes out. I think they're filming it now. as
Do you
we
think they'll
speak.
up the stakes in the third one?
They're probably gonna have to.
Do you think one of the cops would die?
Yeah, maybe the captain. I don't know.
Nah,
Because like I think the Roundup is too similar. It's kind of like less of the Outlaws, so it needs to. The third one would need to up the stakes, and also it needs to have an emotional beat. Probably like the first one did, like when the kid gets injured, but there needs to be like a bigger one.
do you think it'll
Kinda
be
like
a
in-
Beverly Hills Cop 4 situation? Captain dies, Ma Dong-seok has to go track down whoever killed his captain.
And then it ends up in Wonderland. as they call it.
Lotte,
It's underrated.
Lotte World.
Yeah, underrated movie, man. Love that movie. It's
Beverly
good.
Hills Cop 4. Yeah, it's good. Is the
No, it's three. It's three, isn't it? They only made three, didn't they?
Oh, is that? Yeah, you're right. It was the third one.
Yeah, Beverly Hills Cop 3.
It was the one that was on TV the most because it was the least violent of the
Yeah.
three. Yeah.
The least sweary. Yeah.
It's like the Lethal Weapon 4 of Beverly Hills Cop movies.
Anyway, we got off on a tangent a bit. Let's end this one.
All right. Guys, what did you think of these films, The Outlaws and The Roundup? Did you like them? Would you like to see an American remake of either of them? Are you going to watch the third one? You can let us know. You can get in touch with us at twoasianblokes@gmail.com. You can join our Facebook group to be part of the conversation, or you can follow us on Instagram at twoasianblokes to see what we're up to. Thank you as always for listening.
Yep. This
Anything
is
from you,
us.
Tavi?
No, this is us signing off. We'll catch you next time.
Catch you next time, guys.